What's up, guys? It's Kix
and Eddie Garcia here.
Podcast live. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna talk about some stuff coming up. We're gonna talk about the band and how it became, and we're gonna have some live. We're gonna do a live performance between me and my brother acoustically.
And we'll talk a little bit about the behind the scenes of the band as well, who the band is and where we're going. Yep, this is our third episode, so we're gonna talk, like we said, a little bit about the behind the scenes, the people that surround us, what it takes to keep a band going. We were gonna call this Kicking with Kix.
Kicking with Kix.
I feel like you thought about this for a while now, because you came up with that real quick.
I mean, we could just go with able to stable.
Or cold beer conversation.
Cold beer conversations. Shout out to George Strait. Come on out.
Come on. He probably doesn't know. He's not gonna watch it. George, can I call you George? So a lot of what goes into the behind the scenes, especially now, right, where everything revolves around getting out there, social media, which I'm not I know there's some, and there's nothing against it, right? Everybody, to each their own.
Well,
some
to get
people
to
don't
it,
post
behind
it,
the scenes is basically coming down to management, which is us two, David Lopez, and our sister Michelle Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really even say that I'm really big on the management part. You know, I just I think you guys do a lot of it, which is
yeah, but a lot of our decisions are based off of our four minds.
Right.
So
yeah, you're right. We'll talk a little bit about. So Michelle does a lot of, we actually brought our sister on about 2 years ago.
We didn't bring her on.
What did we do?
She came on the scene, man, because she was doing so many things that were like, shit, you're right. This is a good way to go.
So we brought her on.
We're talking about between me, you, and Dave, social media.
Oh yeah.
None of us are anywhere close to being even remotely good at social media or keeping up with social media.
Exactly. Like, I can have ideas, but I cannot execute them.
Right.
And Michelle is really good at executing this stuff.
Right. So she knew that there was a whole other market that we were missing because social media had to be a key role.
And exactly just how important, how big it is, to be relevant with it. So she does, man, it's a crazy amount of work. She puts in, as far as the merch goes, it's actually her and Luis, her boyfriend. They do such a good job with the merchandise. And I'm talking about hauling the shirts, the caps.
Whether we're here or out of town,
they're taking all that stuff with it.
Set it up.
They set it
tear
up.
It down.
Yeah, so during the gig, they're selling the merch out there, and they're keeping inventory. There's a lot of accounting that goes behind the scenes, and there's probably other stuff. Michelle does such a good job with the accounting aspect as far as what's coming into the band, what's going out. She'll give you a super professional breakdown of it. Funny thing, me and her were in accounting together. So yeah, she understands it more than I do because I ended up dropping out of that.
He was taking an accounting class, and
I was asleep most of the time. But she pursued it, and so you can see she did good with it. That's actually her forte now. But we didn't know she was so good at the marketing aspect of it. So she'll put hours into videos, editing, making flyers. She's really good at making flyers. And it's kind of became her craft. She's really mastered her craft, and it's been really cool to see. So we're just so thankful with.
No, we're fortunate enough that she's our sister, so she helps us out with that part.
Yeah, she does. And it's been huge. It's been huge for the band as far as pushing forward. So that's why I say when I heard about a band starting up, it's fun and it's exciting. You get together and you jam out, and you're starting to even talk about, oh, we should cover this song, and and then you go to the bar and you play it, it gets a good reaction, and then that kind of process is really cool as far as it goes for the guys in the band, right?
And then
but then there's the business aspect.
The business aspect is
right,
like huge, and
you start to realize, man, we're putting a lot of time into this.
It takes so much of your time. So David Lopez is the one that did all the behind the scenes, especially for the first album that we had, was getting in contact with radio promoters and stuff to to make sure that our song is getting spins on the radio and where's it going. He did a lot of that. He did a lot of our behind the scenes, getting our music published and copyrighted, I guess.
Yep.
He helped us with a lot of that with the first album.
And he's so dedicated. And one example I'll give you guys is I think of him as the enforcer. It's like sometimes, man, it's a gig night. You set up. You had to do your sound check. You go. You play the gig, and then you got to tear down. And it's a process. And when you've done it for all these years, it does get tiring, And the last thing you want to worry about is having to wait and collect. Sometimes there's some venues out there that they like to linger and
wait till the very end
to pay you. But man, you've done all this work. You're gonna have to get paid. And he's the guy that's gonna, we'll say, hey, dude, you know what? It's not a big deal. We'll catch up with him later.
And, he does.
And he'll be like, nah, you guys take off. I'll wait, and I'll make sure that you guys are taken care of.
That we get payment.
So it's always like, man,
Because if you don't do that, you end up going home or going wherever you're going, to the hotel, and then it's just, okay, you're trying to stay in contact with a person. Hey, we're going to send you the invoice.
Right. So it kind of eliminates that problem. But it's because of his
tenacity.
Yeah. And you need people like that. You need that kind of support too. He's been with us from the beginning as well. Before he was even our involved as making managerial decisions for the band. Man, David was out there every Thursday night, just listening to the band jam out and having a couple of cold ones, So it's definitely been really cool for these people that are around us. And again, we're very fortunate to have them. Without them, I don't even know if the Kix Garcia band still exists. That's why when bands come up, and again, we've seen a lot of bands come and go, and I think it's that. I don't think it's because
that main reason.
Exactly. I don't think it's because it's not that.
It seems easy.
The music is not there, whatever. I think a lot of people come in and they got great musicians and they got great singers, but it's the support that you need, the backing that you need as a band. So, and we realize that, and which is the other thing we talk about. So if you're gonna open up for Randy Rogers, you're gonna open up for some big name artist, right? Or there's let's say, I don't know, some kind of event where they put you as a headliner, and there's going to be a lot of people that are paying a lot of money. It puts that pressure, and it's not just because you want to sound good. It's because, hey, all these people that support you are putting their time, are putting their time into you, as far as what you need as a band to strive and to succeed and to be up there in the first place, to give you that platform. So that's where we come and we feel that pressure but we practice. And then sometimes we gotta remind ourselves, right? Like, hey, this is something we still love to do. And we've kept it pretty good thus far as like jamming out every Thursday consistently and doing our part as the music goes, as far as the music goes, right? So yeah, very thankful for the people that we have in the band and around the band.
And I guess like one of the traditions, at least for me, is like, so I'm a very nervous person.
Yeah, you always ask if everybody else.
Whenever
nervous.
we're about
And
to
then make
play,
everybody else nervous.
exactly right. So I'll always send a message like, "Hey, anybody else nervous?" And everybody's like, "No, but we know you're nervous. Like, just have a drink or something."
Yeah, I that baffles my mind because
I always feel like I'm gonna give the worst performance that I've ever given
always does.
before any show, or even like even if we're just going to, like, let's say this podcast. I'm like, man, I don't know why I'm nervous, but that's just my character, I guess.
It's a vulnerable thing, though. I mean, I get it. You have to feel vulnerable being, you know, in front of a crowd. Sometimes, like going places where nobody knows you and you're seeing faces that you've never seen before. It tests you, and but once you start seeing the people bobbing their heads or, they're like dancing along to the music, then it kind of puts you at ease. Yeah. But I know at first, I guess we all feel it in our own way. But I can imagine being like the front man is, man, all eyes are on the front man, And but there's a moment, man. There's a moment that I always have when we're on stage. We're doing certain songs and you hit these highs, and the kick drum is like in the background and everybody's just in sync, and you really feel it.
And it goes slow motion.
It's just like, man, everything just clicks, and that's when I think the nerves just poof, they fade, and you can start to have a good time.
Right.
But I never want to lose that. I never want to lose those butterflies. I wouldn't say that. I get really nervous, but I don't want to lose those butterflies, because I think when we lose that, I think maybe it's not fun anymore. I don't know.
Maybe it's not fun anymore. Still, right. When that's gone, I think it'll be at the point where it's just like, do we even feel like doing it?
Exactly.
So that's basically what I guess the behind the scenes is for the band. It's a lot of work, and we really appreciate everybody that helps us out. And we're just very fortunate because the people that help us out have come across our path, or they were born into the family. So,
and it's cool how the following has grown. You start to see faces that show up and people you didn't expect to show up because they showed up 3 months ago, but now they're at your show again. It's always good to see people coming back.
The following is a huge deal because when you first start as a band, the following is always going to be your friends and family, and they show up every time.
Right.
So the difficult part is getting past that and getting to the point where you build a fan base. And I think that for us made a huge difference. Was your family and friends, they'll go out to every show where they can, but sometimes you're going to come across a show where they just can't show up. They're busy, they're doing something, they're out of town. So in my head, I was very conscious about that at certain shows, just telling myself, oh man, no one's going to be there.
Yeah.
Because my family's not here and my friends are not able to go. But then you end up seeing a crowd or an audience of a fan base that maybe you thought, wow, I didn't even know this existed. And when they show up, that really gives you something in your heart, like a fuel, like a fire that you want to build on. So you never want to let them down. So you always want to put on a good show, and you want to put out good music to where you know that your core fan base is gonna like.
So that's a lot of what goes on, right, in the minds, like with the band, with how you're dealing with the business side of it as well, which is not always pretty. But luckily for us, again, we have the people that support us and make it easy, right, to deal with. At least as easy as can be, I think. So we've taken this little break, like we mentioned, and now we got about 2 or 3 songs. I'm thinking we're gonna do 2 and get back in the studio to release these. Writing is something I love to do. I think the best music comes when Kike comes up with an idea and we go back and forth with it. As far as our experiences go, that's how I feel, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, I guess, agree with that. I think a lot of the music comes from from. Well, I consider Eddie to be a much better writer than myself. I do have, my moments where I'm writing songs and I send them to Eddie and he helps me finish them where we do co-writing. Like, I guess an example would be Another Whiskey Night. Most of that I had written out and I got stuck. And then Eddie helped me finish the writing. But a lot of the songs that have been written out there and even the new ones that are going to come out, a lot of them are just written mainly by Eddie. So I don't want to take credit for those. A lot of those songs come from Eddie and his experiences. So those are things that I won't take credit for. So in my opinion, I would say, or I believe that Eddie is an amazing writer, and that's another thing I'm fortunate to have in my life is a brother who writes great music, and as long as I can add some stuff to it, I mean I'm happy with that.
So what happens with me now is I always want to be better than before, as far as the writing aspect goes. In songwriting, it's man.
You think it's easy, or when you hear a song, you're like, oh, I could have written that.
Yeah,
and then you try it, and you're like, man.
I never want to fall into those songs where it's like, oh man, I've heard it before. And if people hear some of our songs, maybe they're gonna think that, right? But especially now, having written so many songs, or that we have out, now writing a song is I found it a little bit more difficult because you don't want to be the same caliber of writer that you were a year or 2 years ago. You want to always constantly evolve, right? As far as taking the music in another direction, right? Using different lyrics, right? Hopefully you guys enjoy the next songs that come out. The ones we're working on getting into the studio is Losing My Baby. Oh no, sorry, we just released that one. It's gonna be No Returns and
Between You and Me.
Between You and Me. So that's what we're looking forward to releasing.
So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna play a couple of acoustic songs for you guys, and hopefully y'all enjoy them and enjoy the podcast. And hopefully we'll be back soon. And what was discussed is another environment, which is gonna be pretty fun. So stay tuned. Working long days all week. I know I only got to call you twice. I gotta pay the bills and make the rent. You know I can't wait till the weekend. $10 buckets is a place I wanna be. When I get you in my arms, well, there ain't no stopping me. I spin you up and down that floor, right till they tell us that we've got to get out that door. It'll feel like no one else is around. Darling, as soon as I clock out, it's just you and me in the jukebox. Start off with a shot of Patron to get the night started, ready to go. A bucket of beer on the table to set us up for the first few songs. And I drop a $10 bill in that old jukebox. Yeah, and your grinders band will be playing all night long. I spin you up and down that floor, right till they tell us that we've got to get out that door. It'll feel like no one else is around. Darling, as soon as I clock out, it's just you and me in the jukebox. Girl, I can just see it now. stopping around at that Flatland Gallery, humble folk style. Better night in Texas I couldn't ask for. No dance hall, no care in the world. A beautiful girl and me in the jukebox.